That behind me is the updated 2026 Jeep Grand Wagoneer, and it's down almost 100 horsepower compared to last year. Not only that, but Jeep has dropped the standard Wagoneer model, but positioned this about $20,000 cheaper than it was before. It's all a bit confusing. Let's go for a drive. So I lied. We are down actually 130 horsepower, not almost 100. And that's because there was an update that bumped the high output version of this Hurricane twin turbo 3-liter inline six from 510 horsepower to 540 horsepower last year. And now we're at 410 horsepower and 465 pound-feet of torque. Still so much power. Torque is way down there, between 3,000 and 4,000 RPM. This is just the quote-unquote standard output version. So the turbos are a little bit different, the internals are a little bit different, and then we're down on boost. They've dropped the Wagoneer, and this just covers that entire spread under the Grand Wagoneer name, right? So it's still available in the standard wheelbase, which is what I'm driving today, or the L, the long wheelbase. It's a foot longer, but even this standard wheelbase is longer than a Nissan Armada or a Toyota Sequoia. The thing is huge, and if you want to get just, it's in the name, the wagon experience, in the States you can spec this at the base price, which we'll get to at the end of the video, in a rear-wheel drive format. Whereas here in Canada, all Grand Wagoneers are full-time all-wheel drive, which is a good thing. Let's stick it in sport mode. We'll see how it gets out of a dig. It is pouring rain out today. We'll try a little brake boost, see if we can spool those turbos a little bit, and then go. That was really quick to shift. The 1-2 shift, seamless. Traction control kicking in there. Of course, that inline six is longitudinally mounted. It's rear bias. This full-time all-wheel drive system will default, if you're just cruising, send all of the torque to the rear and then just sense and send torque to the front when it needs to. This one I'm driving today is the limited altitude. So it's only one step above the base model, and we have air suspension here. I've got heated and cooled seats, and it's got a few other things, but it doesn't have what you could get with the Max towing package, which is an ELSD and a 2-speed transfer case. This one still gets a mechanical limited slip differential back there. It'll lower up to 1.6 inches for entry and exit, and then it'll go up 2 inches from the base height. So there's a total of 3.6 inches. The first thing you notice about the Grand Wagoneer is just how smooth this transmission is. It was actually built in collaboration, ZF and Stellantis. Stellantis actually builds it. The 8-speed is actually new for this year too. It's been completely updated. I had not driven the previous Grand Wagoneer, so I don't have a back-to-back comparison, but the ZF 8-speed is one of the best transmissions on the market. And in this 3-row full-size SUV segment, I mean, it's a standout here. It's so smooth. And this engine, it's awesome. It is quiet, which in a 3-row SUV, I guess you want. But on the flip side, part of me just wishes I could hear some kind of inline six sound. It doesn't really sound like much. It's smooth, it sounds good. It's still so quick. Yeah, is the throttle quite as direct and connected in feeling compared to the naturally aspirated V8s that GM is still putting in the Tahoe and the Yukon? No, you're never gonna match an NA V8, but for the base price, this still makes way more power than that 355 horsepower in the 5.3 liter V8 you would get in a base Tahoe. So downshift and just so much torque. It's really quick, so much power, but I'm driving a 7-row SUV right now alone. So that's kind of like one of your friends saying their daily driver does a 10-second quarter mile. And then you look inside and it doesn't have door cards and the interior's stripped out, the back seats are missing. And you're like, come on, this is your daily, really? So I'd imagine if I had another 6 passengers in here, it would be a little bit slower, but even still, 465 pound-feet of torque is almost up to where the Stealth Performance Pack puts the Expedition's twin-turbo V6. We get an average of 12.5 liters per 100 kilometers, or 19 miles per gallon. And if you get the max trailering package, you can tow up to 10,000 pounds. So good, so good. By far the best part about the Grand Wagoneer is the powertrain, how it drives, and how it rides. The air suspension's great, comfortable most of the time. This is a massive 3-row body-on-frame SUV. All of these ones, even with air suspension, if you go over these bigger bumps, especially at higher speeds, you get the shudder kind of through the chassis just a little bit, but this has struck a great balance between being a little bit too stiff and being a little bit wallowy. I think it rides a little nicer than the Expedition. However, the body control in the Yukon cannot be matched. Those dampers just react so quickly, and over big bumps and speed bumps, the Yukon settles so quickly, whereas here over big speed bumps, there's like a few more rocks back and forth than I would like. The trade-off though is that, yeah, as a daily driver, it's very comfortable. One thing though, and this is probably the worst thing about the Grand Wagoneer from a driving experience, the throttle calibration is just a little bit off. If I leave it in auto here, which for the street, there's only really 2 drive modes, auto and sport. If I leave it in auto, the first 30 or 40% of the throttle pedal, it feels like, is completely dead. I just don't really feel any change in torque, any power, and then you have to go way deep, halfway down the pedal travel to get any kind of power. On the flip side though, there's a little bit of a disconnect because off the line, from a standstill, it's great. You get torque immediately, so it's a little bit strange feeling. Rear end stepping out there. Wow, okay. In sport mode, heads up you guys, and this was the same in the hybrid Cherokee, which was weird. Traction control turns off, or at least partially, which is totally unnecessary. I have no idea why Jeep does this. No one buying a Grand Wagoneer needs to turn traction control off at all unless you're off-road or something. Doesn't have a crazy quick steering rack. It's a little bit lazy in that sense. The brake pedal feels good. It never gets really firm and connected even under hard braking, which is something I think the Yukon did a little bit better. I never thought the Grand Wagoneer looked bad, but they have updated it to look, I think, a little bit more like an EV. Everybody's going squinty-eyed, so yeah, the headlights are a little bit thinner. There's less grille. It looks a little bit more streamlined, a little bit more modern. The lights are different in the front. The lights are different very slightly in the rear. I don't think it looks any better. I also don't think it looks any worse than it did before. And what they've also done is got rid of, which I love, a lot of the chrome trim, which I thought looked so cheap. Now, they've replaced it with a bunch of gloss black, which is a little bit better. No, it's a lot better, but it's not the best they could have done. It looks great. It's not the most exciting thing to look at from the side. So what they've also done to streamline the branding and bring the Grand Wagoneer down in some ways, especially at the entry point, it competes with the Tahoe and the Armada versus before it was Yukon Denali and kind of base Escalade money. They've got rid of all of the Wagoneer kind of badges on the exterior. There is a Jeep badge for the first time, I believe, on the Grand Wagoneer, which is pretty cool. I loved the Wagoneer script though that was on the hood before. It's gone, so this hopefully will appeal to a wider Jeep audience. I mean, the Grand Wagoneer only sold about 5,000 units in the States last year, and significantly less here in Canada, less than 1,000. So in streamlining the models, they've just kind of opened up a broader market appeal to the Wagoneer. So as far as cargo space goes, with the third row up, there's actually quite a bit of space, a little bit more than you would get in a Yukon and an Expedition. And then still a ton when you put the third row down. Now with the Summit Altitude buttons for the third row, you don't have to hold those, and they actually go down pretty quick. Headrest flap, and then back here, of course, you've got both kinds of USB, which is a sign of the times, I guess. We're kind of in that gray area, and then we've got a cup holder, huge armrest, a little bit of storage, and then this second row also folds down with the buttons. But, okay, we'll see what happens here. I am surprised that didn't crack the rear seat entertainment screen. Yeah, so that works. I do wish there was a proper 110 volt outlet back here for appliances or a pump or something. Whatever you wanted to plug in back here, a coffee maker, I don't know. There is one in the second row console up there, but there are also buttons back here if you want to fold up this third row, and that's a one button press too. So really easy to use. Yeah, Jeep has thought of pretty much everything here to make this easy to use. These are, yeah, plastic on the sides, but they're built a little bit better. Okay, I was gonna say than the Yukon, but ew, that doesn't sound great. They are good though. They just require a lot of force to put back up. And then if you want to get into the third row, this is, again, a one button press, and that moves forward. And then of course, if we want to flip it fully down, it's easy to use. And as expected, there is a ton of space in the third row. You can get crazy for the second row. You can spec the console here. You can spec this in a bench seat. There are so many configurations. And the interior. This is where things begin to fall apart, quite literally. Yeah, I'm kind of, I don't want to say this was expected, but come on, I can hear this creaking, and like there's just, I didn't even have to look very hard. There's just a bunch of wiggly materials. My start-stop button, I should not be able to wiggle around, but this is my job. I'm supposed to be kind of poking around, maybe in ways that if you just bought this, you wouldn't be. But the door card, you're definitely going to be touching that and grabbing on the handle, and it's just not to the level of build quality as some of the competition from Ford and GM, and that's a sad truth. Now, it is kind of a budget Escalade or Yukon Denali. You get a ton of these features that you would have to pay more for in those models. So that's on the plus side. If you want the air suspension, if you want the 2-speed transfer case, the retractable running boards, you're paying just a little bit less than those competitors, which is great. Standard here is a 12.3-inch digital gauge cluster. I love this. There's so many options here, and we can easily, as you guys can see with the buttons on the steering wheel, change between what we wanted displayed. There's our air suspension. And then of course we've got some off-road settings there. You can see your center differential if it's unlocked. Just a ton of functionality. One thing you can't do is put your Android Auto or Apple CarPlay maps, like Google Maps or Apple Maps, I guess, in this gauge display. It's not the end of the world. You just have your native maps being able to be displayed here, which is great. The resolution's awesome, but I'd imagine you're probably not using the native maps all that much, and it's still loading. I didn't have this issue the other day, but okay, maybe we'll map loading. We'll come back to that. The center screen here, really easy to use. Yes, they've kept physical climate control buttons. Awesome volume knobs all there and easy to use. So these are all touch buttons here for your heated seats. Cooled seats, of course, are on the limited altitude. Everything here just works well. I do wish there was less piano black going on here. However, this is definitely better as far as a gear selector than, let's say, the buttons in the Expedition. I do like this better. And then we have our height control for the air suspension here. Easy to use, get to, and our drive modes, of course. A little bit of storage. Wireless charging is standard on all Grand Wagoneers. And the software is good. Climate control, if you want the full menu, that comes up. And then vehicle settings here. One thing, though, I wish this had was a dedicated button for the surround view camera. So this is here. Yeah, really good resolution. Top-down view is there as well. And then you've got your kind of trailer cam there for backing up. And it takes up the full screen, which is awesome. But if I'm, let's say, in drive and I'm at the home screen, I either have to go vehicle and then surround camera, and by that time somebody's honking at me, or I just swipe down and you have your favorites, and there's the surround cam there. So that's easy enough. This one's also been spec'd as part of that big package with the rear entertainment with the fam cam. And it's just one camera, so you get that fisheye effect, and it's kind of funny because you can see the second row, you could see actually what they're watching on their screen, which is interesting. But if I go back to it, the third row, they're gonna be upside down. That's kind of funny, but this is kind of cool. I do like this. If I had a family, if I had kids, then you could just kind of keep an eye on, you know, who's napping, who's not, who's paying attention, and who's playing M-rated video games when they shouldn't be. I do not like this steering wheel though. The buttons are great. Physical buttons on here, awesome. But there are very few manufacturers, especially in 2026, that can get away with a 2-spoke steering wheel. Stellantis, you're not one of them. This is not a good looking steering wheel. I do wish I was sitting 2 or 3 inches lower. And that's a lot. I get I'm in an SUV. I don't need to be like on the ground, on the floor. But I'm not tall, and I feel like I'm towering over the hood. And the view is great, but it's completely not necessary. And what the Expedition did with that new screen, which love it or hate it, you can watch my review on it, it pushed your eye line a little bit higher, whereas here the combination of just a traditional gauge display, which is fine, but the seating position, I'm looking way down there to see all this information that I have. So it's just a little bit of a disconnect, and I wish I could lower the seat further down. Seats are comfortable though, tons of bolstering. So what it lacks in interior refinement, it makes up for with that sweet inline 6. But if you're one of those weird ones who will give up a good sound for more power, there is a 647 horsepower plug-in hybrid V6 coming soon. The Grand Wagoneer starts here in Canada at $91,000, and this one as it sits is 103,000 Canadian or 85,000 USD. It's a great middle ground. Thanks for watching.